equations. The important thing when learning about equations is to make sure you do the right setting out. If you learn the process and do the technique that I'm going to show you, it makes it really easy as the questions get harder for you to be able to deal with them, because you're just doing the same process just with more steps. So, to solve an equation is anything that has an equal sign in it. We're going to solve by doing the opposite, or what is called backtracking. Now, pluses and minuses are opposites of each other, and timesing and dividing are opposites of each other. So these ones are called one-step equations because there is one number with my pronumeral. And there's one thing that I have to do to get the k by itself, to find out what it's equal to. Okay, that's why they're one step. So if I have got a minus 20 with the k, the opposite of a minus is to plus. So the instruction that I write down is to plus 20, and I put that underneath both sides of the equal sign.
Can we write this?
Yes, you always write what I write, yes. Then that means that a minus 20 plus 20 cancels out. And that's how we get the k by itself. If k is by itself on the left-hand side, I'm going to have k equals, and I just need to work out what minus 5 plus 20 equals to. What is minus 5 plus 20? Thank you, Ethan. 15. And that's it. That is solved. Let's do question 2. I have 15k. Okay, I'm highlighting that because that is the one number that I have to move. Now, when the 15 and the k are next to each other, that means they're times. The opposite of timesing is to divide. But we don't use divide signs in algebra, do we? We use fraction lines. Okay, so 15 divided by 15, that means that 15 will cancel away. Then we can use our calculator to go 180 over 15, and we get 12. So k is by itself, and 180 divided by 15 equals 12. So 12 is my answer. I'm going to do it again and again and again. So we're looking for the pronumeral. This time it's n over 9 equals minus 18. So it's the 9. That's the one with my pronumeral that I have to get rid of. That over means divide. The opposite is to times by 9. Okay, so we times that, and that means that the 9, those 9s on the left there will cancel out. N is now by itself, and we have to times the negative 18. Oh. Negative 18 times by 9 to get negative 162. Yes, please grab out your calculators. Question 4. V minus 16 equals minus 2. So the minus 16, that's what I need to get rid of. It's negative, it has a minus sign. So the opposite is to plus 16. Plus 16 under both sides of the equation. That means that that first 16 there will cancel out, which is what I want. V is now by itself. And on the right-hand side, minus 2 plus 16 is? 14. Well done. Okay, I don't want to see, even for these one-step equations, I don't want to see anyone just writing down the answers. You need to show this working out right from the very start. Question 5. Minus 13p. Now, even though there's a minus sign there, that minus 13 is right next to the p, which means that they are multiplied. So the opposite is to divide by minus 13. Cross that off. P is by itself, and we'll get our calculators, and we go 195 divided by negative 13. Anyone get an answer? Minus 15, yes. negative 15. Okay, so type this in as we go. Make sure you're getting the same thing that I do. Question 6. 17 equals x over 3. Now this question has the x on the right-hand side. We haven't had that happen yet. We need to move the 3 that is with that x. Okay, it doesn't matter that it's on the right. Whatever is with that x is the number that has to go. The line means divide. So opposite is to times by 3. Okay, cross off. Divide by 3, times by 3. Crossed off. Now, for the solution, you like to have your letter on the left-hand side. So I'm going to do a little switch here. I'm going to switch my x to the left. X equals, and I'm going to do the 17 times 3, which is, who's got it? 51. 51 on the right-hand side. Everyone still following along okay? Yes. Great. Question 7. 2 equals k minus 4. So there's the k, so the minus 4 is what has to move. So the opposite is to plus 4 to get rid of that. Again, because the k is on the right, let's do a switch. K is going to come over to the left side. And the 2 plus the 4 makes 6 for the answer. And question 8. R plus 2. So the plus 2 is what has to go. What is the opposite? Minus. Great. Minus 2 to cancel that off. R is by itself. Minus 2 minus 12, hands up, is?
Minus 14.
Hands up usually means you wait for someone to ask you to say an answer, Ethan?
Minus 14.
Yes. Minus 14. Correct. They are one-step equations. We did lots of those last year, and it's good to see that it seems like most of you remember how to do that. Noah?
I've got to go early.
Oh, yeah, you do. Yes. Off you go. I remember that. We want to do two-step equations as well today, which means there's going to be 2 numbers that we have to move away from our pronumeral. So, the trick with this is to know what number to move first. As a rule, you work from the furthest away and you want to get closer and closer to your pronumeral. So the 2 and the m, they're pretty close together. And the plus 3 has been added on the outside of that. So I want to get rid of that outside layer first before I can get into the inside layer. I heard a teacher once who described this as peeling onions. You got to peel the outside layers away and just keep working your way towards that letter in the center of the onion, okay? So the plus 3 is on that outer layer. The opposite of plusing 3 is to minus 3. Cancel it off on the left-hand side. Then we write down what is left over. On the left side, I still have the 2 and the m. On the right side, 13 take away 3 is 10. That's one step. Here comes the second step, where now I want to get rid of the 2. So the opposite, because they're next to each other, is times. Opposite is going to be to divide by 2. Cross the 2's off. M is now by itself, and 10 divided by 2 is 5. So I should be able to see 2 distinct levels there. So I'm working out, what am I going to do? What's left? What's the next step to do? What's my final answer? 2 steps to get the answer. Let's go for part B. Again, let's think of our layers here. So the 5R is together and the plus 6 is the outer layer. So we're going to subtract 6 first. You don't need to draw those circles on there as long as you can visualize that. The 6's will cancel. 5R is remaining on the left side. 26 take away 6 is 20. The next layer is to get rid of the 5. It's times. So I need to divide by 5. Whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other side of the equation. It's always balanced. Cross off the 5's. R is by itself. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Next one, E. Looking at our layers, so the 3A's together, the minus 5 is the outside. So the opposite of the minus 5 is 2 plus 5 plus 5. Cancel that off. 3A is by itself. 25 plus 5 is 30. Next layer is to get rid of the 3. It's currently times. The opposite is to divide by 3. Cross the 3's off. A is by itself. 30 divided by 3 is 10. All right, I want you to try F, please. I'll give you a 10-second head start. Remember to show you're working. Done? Did you get the same working and answer as I did?
Yes.
Yes, wonderful. All right, try G. Check mine after you finish. Don't be copying mine. See if you can do it without looking. Yes? Okay, the biggest trick there is just to make sure you subtract or do these numbers here correctly. So minus 10 plus 6 is a minus 4. Okay, so you did, sorry? Someone wrote down the wrong answer? Or you get it? Did you get it? Wonderful. All right, H is still very similar. Let's try H. Got ahead of me. Yep. Yeah? Is everyone getting this? Not just copying them down afterwards? It is all making sense?
Yes.
All right, I will do I with you because they've switched the order here. So for I, the 10A is the center. They've got to stay together, and the 5 is the one that has to go first. It is a positive 5, so the opposite is going to be to subtract that 5 from both sides. 10A will then be by itself. 35 minus 5 is 30. The second step is back to normal, so divide by 10. And we get A equals 3. All right, try J. J is very similar to that one. Yeah? Was that a silly mistake, Layla? What did you do?
I wrote, I don't know how, but I thought 8 was a 5, so I wrote down 29 is 5.
Just a copying mistake. Okay, on to S. We have a fraction in there. So the X and the 3, they're the center layer. and the plus 2 is out on the end again. So getting rid of the plus 2, the opposite is to subtract 2. So that gives x over 3, which is still left, and 5 take away 2 is 3. Now, because we have a fraction line, that means that that's divided by 3. The opposite is going to be to times by 3 to get rid of that. So x is on its own, and 3 times 3 is 9. Yeah? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if it does, you can try t. Why are you looking confused? Are you?
I don't understand.
I'm guessing the working out's going to be an issue for you. Yeah, all right. So that last one, the 4 had to go first. I had to subtract the 4 from both sides, which cancels off. You always want to cancel off. We're trying to get rid of that number, so it's cancelling off that number. The y over 2, I'm just copying that from there, comes down here. And 3 take away 4 gives me negative 1. You can type that in your calculator if you need to, you're just subtracting those numbers. Then the second step is I want to get rid of this 2. The line means divide. So opposite of divide is to times by 2 to both sides, but keep it balanced. That will cross that off. Minus 1 times 2 makes negative 2. I'll come and do some with you when we get to this, when we get started. All right. Part U and V, we've done a lot of these. So these ones are very similar, it's just that we have that subtraction in there. So my center layer is the x over 4, and the minus 5 is the outer layer. So it's a minus 5, so the opposite is to plus 5 to get rid of that. That will leave me with x over 4 equals, the 8 plus 5 is 13. On the second step, I want to times by 4 to cancel that denominator off. X will then be by itself, and 13 times 4 is 52. Right, one last one. Do you want to try it, or do you want me to do it with you? The last one, I'll do it with you. Then you'll have a whole bunch to do on your own. So the first step is that minus 3 on the outer layer. So the opposite is to plus 3. Y over 7 equals minus 2 plus 3 is a 1. Then to get rid of the 7, the line means divide, so opposite is times by 7. Cancel that away. W equals 1 times 7, which is 7. For those of you who did lots of this last year, is it all coming back?
No.
Yes.
I don't remember doing it, but I can do it.